Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and now we're also joined here in our Greater Bahrain festivities in the heart of Cairo in the Islamic Museum. We're joined by His Excellency Mush'ab Syaifullah, who is the Foreign Minister of the Indonesian Student Association in Egypt. Your Excellency, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
And happy feast to you and to your family as well. Tell us, how do you celebrate the feast or the Bahrain feast in Indonesia? What are the most special things that you do, traditions, if there's activities, foods that you would have during that feast?
Yeah, thank you very much for the time and the occasion, and thank you for having me and us, the Indonesian Student Association in Egypt, about the Eid al-Adha in Indonesia. And it's of course a very busy day and very beautiful, much more almost like Eid al-Fitr in Indonesia. But the unique thing in Indonesia is that in Eid al-Adha, in Eid al-Fitr, there are so many people in Indonesia that go back to their homeland. So the roads are very busy, but in the Eid al-Adha, just few people do that. So the roads are not that busy, but instead, the places that are busy are the neighborhoods. So we celebrate it in our neighborhoods. Not that many people that go back to their homelands. And then some foods. We usually do, we call it satay. It's the meat. We use it like, we push it through the, something like, yeah. And then we also call it like gulai. It's also based from meats and so many other meats that in each region is unique for itself.
Yes.
So yeah, it's more like Eid al-Fitr, but not quite the same.
Well, Mr. Syaifullah, you're the Foreign Minister of the Indonesian Students Associations here in Egypt, and there is a big community of Indonesian students. How do they celebrate it here? Eid al-Adha, the Greater Bahrain, do they have their own certain rituals, certain places to go and vacate and celebrate the feast, or do they just integrate in the general, most common celebrations that all Egyptians do?
Yes, thank you. The Indonesian students here is approximately, let's say, about 5,000 to 6,000 this year, and usually we celebrate this. First of all, we hold some kind of festival or a celebration as well by the Indonesian embassy, first of all, and then second of all, we also hold kind of consulate, and by every region in Indonesia or province in Indonesia has their own secretary here. Their own house here in Egypt. We usually hold a celebration in that each house of a certain region of the Indonesia. And yes, we usually also integrate with the larger community of Egypt by attending the prayer and also participate in the slaughter and the sharing of the meat. Yeah, so we also integrate here.
I believe that there's also a very special tradition that you have in Indonesia during the Greater Bahrain. You exchange gifts between friends and families and colleagues. So tell us about this lovely custom and tradition. Is it only happening during the Greater Bahrain, or is this a custom tradition in Indonesia generally in any festivities?
Yeah, exactly. Generally in Indonesia, especially in Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha, we visit our neighbors and we share and exchange gifts, especially in Eid al-Adha. The difference between Eid al-Adha in Indonesia and in Egypt is that usually in Indonesia we send the the qurban to each masjid, and then we process the meat together in one place. And then after that we share the meat to all the neighborhood.
Mr. Syaifullah, now it is the summer and it is the Greater Barren Feast, and actually Asia has been quite a popular touristic destination for Egyptians and for people from all over the world. People go to India, Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, everywhere. So how would you recommend Egyptians would spend their vacation in Indonesia? Where are the best spots? What are the best activities to do there in Indonesia for a break?
So for Indonesia, I would probably recommend some more like natural vacation, because Indonesia is known as archipelago, and we have lots of natural spots for a vacation. So for example, I would recommend first of all beaches, and then mountains. For example, well, of course, most people know already Bali.
Yeah.
Of course.
That's one of the most iconic destinations in Indonesia. But also, we have some beautiful places also in Java Island. For example, if you know the mountains of the highest mountain in Jawa Barat, and then the highest mountain in Jawa Tengah, there are actually so many places that are exceptionally beautiful in natural vacation. So I would recommend natural vacation instead of and also probably some trying some foods that is unique in Indonesia.
That's great. Now you said that you're also representing around 5,000 to 6,000 students that are studying here in Egypt this year. Well, what are they basically studying, the majority of them? And during the weekends or the free time or the short holidays where it's too short for them to return back to their homeland, how do they spend their time here in Egypt?
Yes, we have approximately 5,000 to 6,000 students here. They, in the free time, for example, now when the campus is free. Oh, first of all, most of the students of Indonesia here study in Al-Azhar and taking Islamic, let's say, faculties like Sharia, Usuluddin, Al-Lugha Arabiya, and Dirasat Islamiyah, for example. So most of the students study in Al-Azhar. And then second of all, about the activities, there are lots of activities. Some of us in the holiday would go back to Indonesia, and some stay. And first of all, there are some important organizational activities, annual organizational activities, especially for the main organization here, the PPMI, the Indonesian Student Association here. First of all, organization, and then second of all, some just go, for vacation as well, and then some of us also go for intellectual and Islamic learning program here, like for example, learning Mawaris and also memorizing Al-Quran. We do that stuff too.
Mr. Syaifullah, now all of these students, what do they do after they finish their studying? Do they all go back home to Indonesia to pursue careers there? Do they go to other countries, maybe in Asia or around the world? Or do they try and pursue a career here in Egypt? And people who do pursue a career here in Egypt, what sort of career, what sort of opportunities would you say are the most fitting for Indonesian students to pursue after they finish education?
Well, realistically speaking, most of the graduates here go back to Indonesia, either to pursue further education or to work. And let's say not that much, but few of the graduates continue their master degree here in Al-Azhar and other universities in Egypt. And about the career, I would say, well, some of the master degree, those who take master program here, they tend to focus on their study, but those who actually pursue the career here, the formal ones usually go to the Indonesian embassy, for example. There are some some spots there. And for other than that, let's say that the career is not that much. So yeah, mainly in Indonesian embassy.
Yes, the number of students that are studying here annually, do they come on scholarships? Some of them are scholarships, some of them choose Egypt as a destination for the study, especially as it is known that Al-Azhar is very popular and attracts a lot of students from Asia. So how do they choose the number of students who come from Indonesia here?
Thank you. Very interesting question. So, yeah, I would like to thank the Al-Azhar University and the government of Egypt that have made the MOU with Indonesia. Most of the students that come here from Indonesia that study in Al-Azhar basically get scholarship for study, but not for the, let's say, accommodation, for daily life, for example, for houses and for food. But most of us, let's say almost all, get scholarship for study. And then some of us get full scholarship. Those who get this scholarship will be placed in Madinat al-Bu'uth, that have like free houses or dormitory and also food and so on. And so it's because of the MOU we get the scholarship, and also the mechanism of how we choose the students. Actually, there are thousands of Indonesian students that go to Ministry of Religion, let's say, in Indonesia, that follow or join the test to come here. Let's say the numbers is increasing every year, and for this year we accept almost 1,006 or 700 out of like 5,000 or 6,000 that join the test. So yeah, so many students.
All right.
Yes. Well, Mr. Syaifullah, how would you're saying that the numbers are increasing year by year, but how is the number now compared to previous years, 5,000 to 6,000 students? Is it harder now for students to come to Egypt all the way from Indonesia, or is it much easier? What sort of obstacles or difficulties might they face in order to come and study here in Egypt?
Yeah. First of all, of course, the challenge they face is firstly the test itself. The test is actually the quota is also increased from this year and also the previous year, so that more students can come. But also in the test, they have certain limit of mark that they have to pass, right? And then when they pass the test, they also have to think about whether they get the full scholarship or just the scholarship for study. Because when they get the scholarship for study but not the full scholarship, they also have to think about the fee for so many things, right? From accommodation and so on and so forth.
All right, finally, when usually when you go to any country in the world, they always have the community of certain countries. They get together, they know each other, and there are always popular areas or places they hang out. So as for the Indonesian community here in Egypt, where do they usually hang out? On the weekends? Do they go to certain areas? Do they prefer certain outings, for instance? If it's on a weekend or a long weekend, do they like the Red Sea? Would they hang out there? Or do they like to go to the Mediterranean Sea in Alexandria and so forth? Well, what is the interest of the Indonesian community here in Egypt?
Yeah, first of all, most of the Indonesian houses that belongs to the each provinces is located at Hayy al-Ashir.
In Nasser city.
Yeah, the Nasser city. Most of the houses. Some of our Nasser city, yeah, all of the houses probably.
It's closest to Al-Azhar, possibly, that's why.
Yes, probably that's right. But not that many houses are placed here. I mean the Indonesian houses that become the headquarter, let's say. And second of all, the interest of Indonesian students, I would say, well, like almost every tourist destination in Egypt that are widely known, Indonesian students are interested in that. Almost every tourist destination, I would say. I mean, we don't have any specific destination to hang out or something, but yeah, for example, it's just lots of time to, for example, Alexandria, and then for the nearby destination, of course, we tend to go a lot, but also not only the close or the near ones, we also go to the for example, to Aswan. Yeah.
All right.
That far, almost to Sudan.
Yes. Well, Mr. Syaifullah, it's a pleasure having you with us, and hopefully we're wishing you a very happy Great Baram feast here in Egypt. You're home away from home. Wishing you and all the Indonesian students and the Indonesian community as well the best of the feast.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
Happy feast. Thank you very much for coming in. Happy feast to you and your family, and we'll be back right after this break.
Let's enjoy this happy day.